In this tutorial, we're going to use Adobe Illustrator CC 2020 to review Classroom in a Book Chapter 2, which is all about techniques for selecting different types of artwork. So let's go ahead and pull open that L2 Start from the assets and do a file save as. And let's change it to first initial last name underscore Adobe Illustrator Classroom in a Book Chapter 2. And save as an Adobe Illustrator file in your Lesson 2 folder and save. Alright, so one of the first things we're going to play with is the selection tool. So let's go ahead first and look at our view, and let's fit all in window. So you can kind of see both of them a little bit bigger. And let's make sure our workspace is on essentials. If not, you need to go ahead and make sure you set it to essentials. Let's go ahead and grab that selection tool. And with that selection tool, we're going to grab a couple pieces at a time. So let's go ahead and go to our artboard number 2. So you kind of see you can jump between your artboards here. So there's 1 and there's 2. So we're going to go ahead and go to this artboard number 2 with our selection tool. We want to go ahead and select something. So we're going to go ahead and select this round ball, and it goes ahead and gives the word anchor or path, because smart guides are turned on, and it really helps you to make sure you align things correctly. So if you click anywhere inside, we see the the bounding box in order to help change those. So let's go ahead and clips on the right. So it depends on, you can obviously do one at a time, or we can do a shift click and select and do them both at the same time. You can easily move both of them together when they're both selected, which can make your life a little bit easier when you're working on them. As you drag, you can see these alignment guides appear, which makes it a little bit easier for you to understand and do things with the artwork itself. We can also select and use the direct selection tool to create vector paths that are made up of those anchor points and paths, because they use to control the shape and the work pins like a wire in place. That's what those anchor pins do. So let's go ahead and change the shape of one of these paths. Let's go ahead and grab our direct selection tool, which is the second one down. Oh, I'm going to deselect all by going on my pasteboard. Let's go ahead and come down here to this bottom path. And let's go ahead and click inside one of these large bamboo anchors to kind of see it a little bit better. I'm going to do a Control plus. So if I click in here, I can see quite a few different elements. And let's go ahead and click on the toolbar on the left. You can see it's kind of the inside, those anchor points. You should be able to, here we go. So now I can round those out, or I can Control Z and undo. I can pull just a single anchor point out at a time. So it's totally up to you as to how you want to manipulate those shapes. You're not just stuck with it as it is. So I'm going to go ahead and play with that. Later on, we're going to mess with that a little bit more. So let's go ahead and move this guy a little bit bigger as well. Undo. I don't like that. All right, so let's go ahead and you see the word, let's go ahead and grab our direct selection tool, and let's go inside, back inside that one. And you see we get those 4 additional anchor points. And it's very easy to move just one at a time, or just round one out. Well, we got them both, so we round them both out. If I just clicked one, you would only round this corner. So you do have that ability to change things. I'm going to do Control Z and undo that. So you know which one is selected because it's white, and it's only the blue ones will move around. So we can either revert to what we already had. So let's do a file and revert, and it'll put it back to where it was. Yes, we'll lose our current changes. Oh, come back. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put it back to where we started. So let's go ahead and select with our marquee. Let's go ahead and jump to our Pasteboard 2. Let's grab our selection tool. And with this one, we're going to go ahead and select with a marquee. So we're going to go ahead and drag a selection. We only have to drag around part of it and to grab the entire thing. And so it makes it pretty easy. So what happens if we do it with the direct selection tool? Let's go ahead and click out here and deselect. So let's grab that direct selection tool and select both. And now you see that we get different types of information than we did when we did just the selection tool. We do get those direction pointer bars. So those little handles, the direction handles. So next thing we can do is play with moving and changing around some of those. So what happens when I grab just this anchor point? What happens when I do that? I can change just that one, or I can do Control Z, and let's do both of them at once. And you can see you can change multiple shapes at one time. These are going to end up being as pupils eventually, so we don't want to mess with them too much. We'll make them like that. So we can move them together. It's really helpful when you want to be able to transform several things at one time. Let's do Control S and save what we've got so far. Now let's go ahead and hide and lock objects. Let's go ahead and switch to artboard number 1. And let's go ahead and do a view artboard on window. All right, let's go ahead, and you can see with your artboard in the window, you can see how these all have different types of selections. So let's go ahead and with our selection tool, select all of the fox's face. Now you see we have a problem. It grabbed the background, which we don't necessarily want to have happen. So we want to go ahead and lock that in place. So now that we have it where we want it, let's go Object, and let's go Lock and Selection. And that'll make it so that we are not grabbing the blue box anymore. So it'll make it a lot easier, especially with stacking order. You need to make sure you can grab the pieces that you want. So now let's grab that selection tool and grab his face. So we can grab and do that all at one time. So now we can hide and show different parts of this actual selection. So let's go ahead and hit the Shift key. We should be able to take those eyeballs out. So we know that those eyeballs are not selected by I hit Shift and entered each of them. And now let's go Object. Let's go Hide and Selection. And we should end up with everything except the eyeballs, which is exactly what we wanted. All right, so now we want to go ahead and maybe you want to select both of them and change their eye color. So I'm going to do one, hit the other, hit Shift. Let's go Properties. Maybe instead of the fill being gray eyes, maybe you want to give them bright green eyes. Ooh, that'd be kind of creepy. Maybe blue eyes. Totally up to you what you want to do with his eyes. All right, so Escape. We've now changed with those. So now we're going to go ahead and play with how do you select similar objects. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to this artboard number 2. And we're going to play with the bamboo shapes. So let's go ahead and with our selection tool, we want to grab all those bamboo shapes. Not the leaves, just the shapes. And we're going to get one big selection. Now we're going to go ahead and do something pretty cool called Select. We want Same. We want same stroke color. So it's going to grab everything that is exactly the same stroke color and make that a selection. Then we want to go ahead and do Select. We want to save the selection. And we're going to go ahead and call it Bamboo. So now when we just want to mess with bamboo, we say OK. If I go to Select, Bamboo is now one of my selections. So if I click out, I go to Select, come down here to Bamboo, it's going to grab all those that have that same stroke color. So it's relatively easy. All right, let's go ahead and click Outside. Let's go ahead and see what else we can do. So let's do an Object, Show All. So we unhide all those elements. And let's go ahead to do a View, Fit Spread in Window, Fit Artboard in Window. Come on. Let's do all in window. All right, so now what I can do is do a view and outline, and it's going to show me just the individual outlines. So you can actually pick up individual paths that you may not be able to grab otherwise. So sometimes they're hiding it or something else, or you just can't grab the what you want. So the outline mode works really well for that. And we can shift click both those eyeballs again and select both of those. And we could actually move them around. Oh, come back. I'm just going to do it with my arrow keys. So you can kind of see how you can move those up and down, up and around in the outline mode. So I'm going to go ahead and make his eyeballs down there a little bit lower. All right, when I'm done with that, let's go View, GPU Preview, and click back out. Now let's go ahead and play with how to align some objects. So I've got these bamboo, which eventually turn into these bamboo. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll go to Select and Bamboo. So it's going to automatically pick up all those. Let's click to that next artboard. So it's going to center that artboard for us. And now we want to play with the Align tools. So we want to go ahead and play with the horizontal align center. And it's going to go ahead and put those all together for us. Now, what if that's not what I want? Let's do Edit, Undo, Align. And let's try something else. What if we want to align to a certain object? So we want to align to what's called a key object. So let's go ahead and grab this leftmost shape right here. And that's what we want to align to. So let's go ahead and do Align Center button again. And it's going to align to that individual element. Now if we click back out, we can remove, undo. I was really just trying to click back out. There we go. Undo. I didn't do the align to object again. All right, if I click again, it'll undo that key object. So now what we want to do is distribute some of those objects. So let's go ahead and in our green state's still selected, let's go to our More Options in Align, those little 3 dots. And we want to go ahead and grab the Click Vertical Distribute Center button, which is like the second from the left. So Vertical Distribute Centers. And look what happens when we do that. Makes them all even. But it's not quite what I want, so let's do an Edit, Undo, Align. And with them still selected, let's go ahead and click that topmost shape to make it the key object. And let's go to our More Options. And let's go ahead and distribute spacing to be 0. And we want to do the Vertical Distribute Space button. So it's this one right here. And when we do that, it's going to distribute and make those all one individual piece because it distributes the space between selected objects, whereas distribute objects distributes the spacing between the center points. All right, so I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and do a deselect and do a Control S and save what we have so far. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and pick up with how to align some anchor points. Let's go ahead and switch over to this orange area, this orange thing right here. Let's grab our Direct Selection tool. Oh, let's click out here. Let's grab our Direct Selection tool and click in this orange shape. And let's click that lower point right here. And we want to go ahead and do a shift click and grab the other lower on the lower right. So the last selected anchor point is the key anchor point. Now everything else aligns to that. So now what we want to do is align the vertical top. So if we go here to Align Vertical Top, you'll see it go ahead and makes that a nice flat line for us. Let's go ahead and click out or deselect and do a Control S and save. So now we want to go ahead and move these elements together because this is actually part of the fox's body. Let's grab our selection tool on that orange thing and let's go Edit, Cut. And let's go ahead and switch our pasteboard and come over here to our pasteboard number 1 and let's do a Edit Paste. And it's going to go ahead and stick that right in the middle, but don't worry about it. We're going to use the align functions to put it where it needs to be. So let's go Window and Align to open up the Align panel. And with the Align panel, we want to do the hamburger menu, the More Options menu. And let's go ahead and do the where's it at? All right, I'm going to do hide options so you can see what it's supposed to be. So do show options. There we go. I'd already done it, so it was hiding. All right, let's go ahead and do the Align To button. So it's this right here. We wanted to align it to And we want to align it to the artboard itself. So align to artboard. Then we want to click on the horizontal align right button. So that is the third one. Horizontal align right. Okay, so it's going to go to the side. And then we want to go to the vertical align bottom. So last one over here. And it's going to stick it right there at the bottom of the artboard. And I made them too small, so let's go ahead and make that path just a little bit bigger. It's okay that it's covering his nose. We're going to fix that part in a little bit. So let's go ahead and deselect out, do Control S and save. Now we're going to go ahead and group some items. So let's do a view and fit all in window. And we want to go ahead and select bamboo, because we've already made that group. And we want to go ahead and make that one single item. So we're going to go ahead and group it over here on our properties bar. So now it is one single item when we move it around. And we can go ahead and deselect that. Now what do we want to do with it? We want to go ahead with that selection tool and click that and move it over to the artboard on the left. Alright, so we've dragged that over. So now with it still selected, let's go to Align to Artboard. We're still aligned to Artboard. And we want Vertical Align Top. So we're going to grab Vertical Align Top, make sure we're right there at the top. And we want to close that panel because we're not going to use it anymore. Alright, now with the Selection tool, we want to go ahead and hit the Shift key and drag this out till it hits the bottom. Let go of the mouse, let go of Shift. So we've added that piece. Let's go ahead and deselect all, do a Control S and save. So now we want to edit something in isolation mode. So maybe you've double clicked on it and see it does kind of a weird grayed out thing. So let's go ahead and with our selection tool select both of those leaves over here. And let's go ahead and group those over on our properties panel. Then let's double click on this bottom leaf so we can do the isolation mode. You'll see it kind of dim. Alright, so with it dimmed out, we want to go ahead and go to our properties. Nope, there we go. And let's, on that fill color, let's go ahead and make it a bit of a darker green. So pick another green. So when we enter that isolation mode, those groups are temporarily ungrouped, so we can edit those individual elements. So let's go ahead and double click outside on our pasteboard to exit isolation mode. And let's click that leaf group so that we can use it for that next part. So now we're going to create a nested group. So we're going to go ahead and drag those leaves over onto the artboard. Kind of over there somewhere. And now we want to go ahead and shift click the bamboo as well. And we're going to go ahead and group it again. So we actually have a group within a group, which is a nested group. Now let's go ahead and grab these leaves. Click out, click in the leaves, and if you double click, you can get back into those individual elements. So let's go ahead and in the isolation mode, let's grab that whole thing. Let's do an edit, copy, edit, paste, and we're going to get a second group of leaves. Let's go ahead and exit the isolation mode by double clicking out. Now let's go grab those leaves. Oh, undo, Command Z. And let's go ahead and double click it because somehow it's still in the isolation mode. Alright, bring them on in. And add that other set of leaves in here. Alright, now I'm going to double click out. So now I've got a nest within a nest. And that's exactly what I want. So now we want to go ahead and mess with some object alignment and some arrangement. So let's go ahead and grab his body. And let's go to our Arrange button right here. In Arrange, we want to go ahead and do Send to Back. And you notice that his body disappears. That's okay. We want to go ahead and do Arrange and Bring Forward. And we want to bring forward a few more times until we see just his body. Alright, so now what we're going to do is select some other objects. So let's go ahead and grab our selection tool and drag across both of those elements that we know are going to be our pupils. And let's go ahead and shift drag until they're about 1.3 or so apart. So that top number W should be 1.3 ish. Doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, so those are going to be his pupils. And let's go ahead and bring those over to, or undo, Command Z. Let's go ahead and grab those and bring them over to his eyeballs. So clearly I've got one in the right place, one not in the right place. So, but I can't see it either. So I need to change my stacking order a little bit. Let's do Control plus and zoom in a few times. Let's go ahead and deselect all the things I've got. Don't worry, we'll get it back. So let's go ahead with the pointer roughly where we had it before. Let's go ahead and do a Control click until we grab that one individual item. So that's another way to select those items. And then let's go to our arrange and let's go ahead and do a bring to front. So now we've got that one. Let's go ahead and find that other pupil. And if we don't know where it is, see, we don't have a clue, so let's go to our view, outline. We can see that pupil is right here. It's kind of hiding. Let's do our view, GPU preview, and arrange. Let's bring it to front. And use those arrows to kind of bring it over. So I could also grab one eye pupil and another eye pupil. So click one, shift the other, and let's use those align to, undo. It's doing it to the artboard still, so we need to selection. You can kind of bring them together that way. Alright, so now my pupils are even. Let's go ahead and do a Control S, or go over here and do a Control S and save. So in this lesson, you do quite a few basic ideas on how to use the selection tools, how to use isolation mode, and how to basically move things around. So let's do a file and package. It's going to say where do you want to put it, so make sure you're putting it in the right folder. So I'm in my classroom in a book, lesson 2, and my folder is going to be, okay, lesson 2 is select folders, fine. And what do I want to call it? I want to call it PKG. And I do want to create everything and say package. I'm not going to steal any fonts or anything. Let's go ahead and show my package. So if I look here in my lesson 2, I now have one that says D Oser package. So I'm going to right click, send to compressed folder, and that is the one I'm going to turn in, this zipped one. Don't turn in everything in the folder. Don't zip this whole lesson 2 folder. Just give me what you did. And that is all for lesson 2.